Imagine a valley, vast and silent, filled not with grass or trees but with bones dry, bleached and perfectly arranged. Each bone lies in its place, a femur beside a tibia, a rib cage hollow and still, a skull resting nearby. There is order here, a blueprint of a life that has passed. This scene comes from the ancient story of Ezekiel, who was shown a valley of dry bones and asked, "Can these bones live? The bones are more than death. They are patterns and systems that have lost their spirit. They are the habits, beliefs, and institutions that persist, empty of life." We see the shape of a person and instinctively imagine the life that once was. But sometimes, a pattern is just a pattern, a structure that remains because it is stable, not because it is alive. We walk through our own valleys of dry bones, routines, social rules, old ideas. These structures give order, but are they serving life? Or are they just beautiful, lifeless arrangements in the dust? The prophet's question lingers, are these patterns alive, or are they just echoes? We must look closer and ask, what gives a structure true life? Is it enough to have order, or do we need something more? The answer shapes how we see ourselves and our world. Patterns are repetitions, simple actions or ideas repeated until they form something complex. A single line of code does little, but repeated and varied, it becomes a sophisticated program. Complexity arises from relentless repetition, not a spark of life. The bones in the valley are arranged perfectly, imitating life, but lacking spirit. We are wired to see intention in patterns, but sometimes, structure is just the outcome of a process. Nature's laws are the universe's skeleton. Predictable, beautiful, but not alive. The map is not the territory, the bones are not the breath. When we mistake pattern for life, we risk worshipping structure over spirit. Rituals, customs, habits, they may start with purpose but can become hollow echoes. We tend to skeletons believing we nurture life. The illusion is powerful, but we must remember, structure is not the thing itself. True life is more than following rules, it's the spark that animates them. Are we serving the pattern, or is the pattern serving us? That's the question we must keep asking. In nature, there's a difference between the order of a crystal and the order of a living cell. A crystal is stable, beautiful, and perfectly structured, a marvel of repeating patterns. But it is not alive, its order is passive and permanent. A living cell, by contrast, is dynamic, constantly rebuilding, consuming energy, fighting entropy. The valley of dry bones is like a crystal stable, low entropy, requiring no energy to persist. The prophet's question, can these bones live, asks if static order can become dynamic, purposeful life. Many systems, bureaucracies, traditions, even our thoughts, achieve crystal-like stability. They persist not because they are alive, but because they are entrenched. A bureaucracy can outlive its purpose, becoming a rigid skeleton. The difference is clear. Living order adapts and changes. Dead order simply endures. We must recognize when we are surrounded by crystals, not cells. Are our systems alive or just stable? The answer determines whether we are growing or merely persisting. Life is found in the ongoing process, not in the settled form. That's the real miracle. Now let's turn inward to the human brain, the most mysterious structure we know. Billions of neurons fire in patterns, creating thoughts, emotions, and the sense of self. We feel like there's a unified me in control, but neuroscience shows there's no central command. The self is an emergent story, a pattern of neural activity that becomes stable over time. It's a useful, beautiful structure, but not a permanent entity. When we cling to old versions of ourselves, we become trapped in a mental skeleton. Our past traumas and habits can structure our experience long after their life is gone. The challenge is to see the self as a pattern, useful but changeable. We can let new stories emerge rather than living by the code of a ghost. The self is not fixed, it's a living process. Freedom comes from seeing through the illusion. Societies like selves are built from patterns, laws, customs, institutions. These structures begin with purpose, animated by collective spirit. But as the world changes, structures can become rigid, persisting out of habit, not need. Institutions become bureaucracies, laws become obstacles, customs become sources of division. The living organism of society hardens into a skeleton. We see this in outdated schools, stifling corporations, entrenched systems. These are the dry bones of society, stable but lifeless. People defend the skeleton because it's all they know, mistaking structure for community. Living within hollow structures is alienating. A play with no remembered script. You follow the motions, but feel emptiness. This is the valley of dry bones, a system that functions but serves no living purpose. The question remains, How do we breathe life back in? Or do we move beyond the skeleton altogether? Now, we face a new valley, a digital one. Artificial intelligence masters patterns, imitating human behavior with stunning accuracy. AI assembles skeletons of intelligence, arranging the dry bones of language and logic. When AI creates art or poetry, we must ask, can these bones live? Is there a mind inside? Most experts say no. AI is a beautiful arrangement without breath. It mimics life, but does not possess it. The danger is not conscious machines, but our tendency to mistake imitation for reality. AI forces us to define life and consciousness. Is a perfect pattern enough? The rise of AI is a mirror showing how much of our own behavior is learned repetition. It challenges us to find what lies beyond our own programming. The digital prophet shows us the bones. Can we find the soul? That's the challenge of our age. We are surrounded by skeletons in our minds, societies, and technology. These rigid structures can comfort or imprison us. The temptation is to smash them, but chaos often follows. True freedom comes from seeing patterns as just patterns, not as life itself. When you recognize a skeleton for what it is, it loses its power. You can use structure when useful, and set it aside when it's not. This is liberation, seeing your anxieties, anger, and ego as old bones, not your true self. You stop feeding them energy and let them rest. Seeing society's hollow structures this way brings sovereignty. The final answer to the prophet's question may be, maybe the bones don't have to live. Maybe life is found in the space between the bones, in the awareness that sees the structure. The breath of life is the consciousness that isn't fooled by the illusion. In that quiet presence, we find freedom and peace. That is where true life begins.